Now, I love the thing that Simon Sinek said. It makes a lot of sense, skiing through the trees scenario, story. But you know what? The trees are stationary. The trees don't move. So it makes a lot of sense to focus on the path. Those trees ain't gonna ever just jump out and do something you don't expect, right? Let's use another metaphor. We're driving on the road. Now, sure, you don't want to focus on the obstacles. If I start looking at the car beside me in the right lane too long, what am I going to do? I'm going to start veering over there, right? Anybody done that before? You start looking at the side of the road, next thing you know, you're in a ditch. You do have to focus on the road ahead of you and not the other cars, but you have to have your peripheral vision turned on. You have to be aware of what's going on. Again, I keep coming back to this same point, stepping back and seeing your journey from the outside perspective as a viewer of your story. Separate yourself from it. So you need to have your vision going on to anticipate that car pulling in front of you or something happening that is out of your control. Things are always going to happen. You have to have the good with the bad. Life is going to be ebbs and flows. You know that because you know stories now. It's not always going to be roses and sunshine. Sometimes things are going to happen. So I have a house. I have 2 properties on Airbnb, short-term rentals. A couple years ago in non-COVID times, they were having town hall meetings. I think this has happened all over the country, basically lobbied by the hotel industry of how to suppress short-term rental industry that's going on. And listen, this is in a small college town, Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So we really didn't have any huge industry, so it was ridiculous anyway. But what I learned, I was like, and my house isn't in a residential area. I have my own property, so it's not bothering anybody. I knew I would be fine. But what it told me was, this could be pulled out from me at any point. I don't own Airbnb. They could be regulated to death. They could go bankrupt. Anything could happen to lose that platform. Facebook, any of these things that we've put so much into. So I started thinking like, maybe I should mitigate that risk a little bit now that some writing has been, on the wall. So in January 2020, I listed the 2 properties on a travel nurse housing site because I had a furnished apartment, right? And I paid the utilities for short-term rental. So I'm near a couple universities. I told you I'm in a college town with good hospitals, Carolina and Duke. So I put it there. Now I had Airbnb booked up all the way to June. What happened in March? Gone, all of them, all the way to June and beyond. What didn't stop happening? Travel nurses. In fact, we probably needed more of them, right? Could I have predicted a global pandemic? No. I was responding to something else. And that is the point. You're rarely going to predict the future completely accurately. The point is to be malleable, looking for opportunity, moving, seeing what can happen, and knowing that something is going to happen at some point. So how can you prepare yourself? It's not that you're going to nail it. It's that you have changed your perspective in how you view things. And you know it's not going to be sunshine and roses forever. So you start to think of things. Is that building a safety net? What is that doing? Mitigate the risk along the way because you know there's going to be ebbs and flows. And the pandemic gave us a lot of opportunity to really start to think about what it is that we do and what we don't do, or how we do what we do. So another thing that we need to start doing is thinking about what we really provide our people with. What do we really, really do? Speaking of the pandemic, I had just started my speaking career in 2018-19. That's where I met Mitch, who booked me for this at the Communication Directors Institute in Kansas City in 2019. And the last national keynote that I had was in February of 2020 for U.S. Sailing in San Diego, a room like this, a little bigger than this. It was amazing. Came back, went on a honeymoon, came back, the world shut down. Speaking industry, gone, done, right? I was still pretty new to it. So I didn't freak out too much because it wasn't that much of my business. It was maybe 10% of my revenue. That's not the problem I solved. I didn't provide people with speaking capabilities. I provided them with an understanding of storytelling so that they could utilize that and leverage it in their businesses to make a deeper impact on their customers and clients and community. So I pivoted and started coaching people one-on-one where I could still deliver those results just in a different manner. Now that speaking gigs have clearly come back again, I have both. My brother is a caterer in Hillsborough, North Carolina. 90% weddings. Gone. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales gone. And talk about being in the pit. He didn't know how he was going to go forward. And a lot of us have restaurant friends, and catering friends that are in that situation. And he started thinking about it. Do I provide wedding food? Is that what I do for people? Or do I put smiles on their faces with the soul food that I cook. What you do is just the vehicle in which you deliver your results. So he started thinking, there's a lot more people at home now. Most of them aren't great cooks. What if I started doing family dinners and providing that service for home? Yeah, took off. Now what happened? The weddings are back and the family dinners. I have a client, a rare cancer foundation, the Carcinoid Cancer Foundation, and they used to send me every month or so on a shoot to do a 5 or 6 minute documentary for them to educate people on this rare disease. And I was doing that every month. I was in Nashville in April 2019. Well, what happened in March 2020? Same story, gone. So they started thinking about what they do. And they've always been on the leading edge of media. And they asked themselves, well, are we a documentary organization? Or do we educate people about this rare type of tumor? How can we use video to still do that when we can't send Rain out on the road anymore? So they started a weekly show called Luncheon with the Experts. I'm the host of it, so I'm like a virtual talk show host every Thursday. I just did it in a conference room like 2 hours ago. We host a different doctor from around the world and have a virtual one-on-one sessions with patients around the world at 12 Eastern every Thursday to help them answer their questions. Hugely impactful, changing people's lives. And when we start doing documentaries again, we will also have that. You have to focus on what it is you do. Have this narrative thread that is woven through the work that you do, a core belief statement. If I were to fill this out, it would be like, I believe that storytelling is the most effective way for humans to connect, to make human connection. So I offer an understanding of how to leverage those connections to build your communities, deepen your impact, increase your sales to small businesses, nonprofits, and entrepreneurs by coaching, consulting, and keynote speeches. The coaching, consulting, and keynote speeches is just the vehicle in which I deliver the results that I offer. This is what you need to start thinking about. What is it exactly that you do, and what are other ways you can do it? Think about how you really serve people. We know we're out here trying to sell houses, but what are you really providing for people?